Hello everybody. I want to start off by showing you some examples of our Tim Burton tall tale illustrations. This is one I did several years ago, and this illustrates a time when I was a little girl and my brother and sister and I got into an argument over a potato chip that I obviously left on the floor at my grandma's house. And you can tell it's my grandma's house because it says, "There's no place like home except grandma's." And I swore to my brother and sister that I didn't put the potato chip there, and so they asked me who did, and we agreed that it must have been the boogeyman. So I have the boogeyman hiding in the back corner here. This one was really fun to draw, especially because of that boogeyman character. This is another one of my favorite childhood memories. This is about the time that my brother gave me a Madagascar hissing cockroach for Christmas. If you've never seen a Madagascar hissing cockroach, I'll pull up a picture, but they're huge. They're like 4 inches long. My Madagascar hissing cockroach was a very welcome addition. I thought he was really cool. My mom did not. But he was a big bug, and so I just exaggerated how big he was. I made him look basically as big as I was. This last one is actually a work in progress still. I have not completely inked it, but this shows a whole bunch of kitty cats on my doorstep, and so you can see I'm opening the door back here, and I'm very surprised to see that there's a whole bunch of cats on our doorstep. And here's one central character cat. This is supposed to depict the time that my cat that we still own brought her kitten to our doorstep. That was before we actually owned her, but then we took her in. I do want to point out here, I took a little Tim Burton inspiration, and I decided to draw the bushes in front of my house in the shape of fish. You know, cats like fish. And the reason why I did that is it's kind of like in Edward Scissorhands. He cuts up a whole bunch of really cool shrubbery like this. So this one's still a work in progress. But I'm going to come up with a new one to kind of show you my creative process here for you guys. I have even more ideas that I want to share just in case you're still struggling with how to come up with an idea. I started thinking about my childhood again. Here's the truth. My mom had a large denim purse that concealed snacks and held a bunch of activities. Well, my mom, every time we went on like long car trips and stuff, she had this huge denim bag and it was just full of magical things. So I was thinking about illustrating that and basically making it look like she had an entire pantry in her purse. I was trying to think of like weird things that have happened at my house, but last year we moved into a house that had a pool for the first time, and when we had to set it up, it was terrible. Like the pipes really felt like an impossible maze to put together. So I was just going to tell a tall tale of that, basically showing a really complicated a bunch of fitting pipes. But I think the story I really want to go with is the one I came up with actually just in class earlier today. The truth is, every time my husband catches a spider, he tells a tall tale about how, he and this spider duked it out and he won. So it gave me a really funny image of he and a spider in the boxing ring, which is another really cool thing because my husband loves boxing and he used to box. So I was going to show him victorious in the ring after he knocks out a spider. So I'm definitely going to go with this idea. So the first thing I want to do is think about, you can go about this different ways. If you want to focus on the characters first and then the setting, that's fine. I am actually really interested in the setting first of all. So I'm going to look up, I'm going to Google here, boxing rings. The nice thing about being able to look at a visual reference is it kind of solves all the problems of perspective for you. I have a lot of resources that you can use on the slides presentation. So if you want to know more about perspective and how to create a better sense of depth in your pictures, they're really helpful handouts. However, we're doing Tim Burton illustrations here, and Tim Burton has a really wonky sense of perspective. For instance, when you look at this dark illustration here, it has perspective, it has depth, but it's really hard to see like a vanishing point per se. There's so many weird little surreal twists and turns, though we don't get real caught up into, you know, the realism of the perspective of these steps. Same thing here. There's some accurate perspective that's happening, but it has been distorted to make it seem a little bit more nightmarish. So you don't have to get too caught up on the actual ins and outs of accurate perspective. Like this is basically like funhouse perspective right here. Playing with perspective intentionally can really help to exaggerate certain parts of your story. But I'm going to start by just kind of practicing, drawing a boxing ring. I got to think about the perspective I want to have. I think I actually really want my characters kind of up close. So I've actually already looked up, I like something like this, where the guy, here's the victor, here's the thing that's knocked out, and there's the ref. So I like that a lot. Rather than showing the entire ring, I'm just going to show the corner of the ring. Notice I'm going to draw really quick, really light. Really don't want to spend a whole lot of time on a sketch. I want to get the basic idea of what's going on there, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it being perfect or not. I can't really see the edge of the floor, but I assume it's basically like right there. I actually think that's perfect for what I want. I'm going to go over it with a pen simply so you guys, my audience, can see what I'm doing here. Maybe I should just sketch with a pen. That's probably a good idea, huh? All right, so I've got my ropes. Oops. And there's my floor. That's really it that I need for this setting. I'm going to put my characters in there later. But the next thing I'm going to do is move on to this side and brainstorm exactly what these characters look like. If you check out the resources that I have on the slides, you're going to see a whole bunch of different character pictures of Tim Burton. You're going to see some of his illustrations, and you can pick out some of the things that are really characteristic about his work. You can use that to simply inspire some of your work and just sort of add some of his flair to your own style. Or if you want to try to be as true to Tim Burton's style as possible, that's fine too. I'm really interested in your interpretation of his style. But notice how I'm keeping it really light and sketchy. I'm really not worrying about the details right now. I'm just sort of looking at my reference photo off to the side and thinking about how I really want to stylize this. When I drew my siblings, I kind of thought about some Tim Burton characters, like Victor in Corpse, particular one. It's more my own regular drawing style here. I just kept the eyes really simple, like Tim Burton, where I think where you see more of the Tim Burton influence here is how I drew the cat eyes. So when I draw my husband's eyes, I will draw them sort of Tim Burton-like. The thing that's really signature about my husband is his little mustache and goatee. And now I'm going to need to look up some references for a spider. All right, so I'm going to consult the interwebs here. Oh, I love this, like all the row of eyes. Oh, there's my favorite spider, Lucas. Oh, this one looks really, this is actually a piece of artwork, but the style of that spider already looks Tim Burton-y. I think I'm going to use a little combination of some of the things I see here. All right, so I've got a mess of sketches here, but it's helped me. I have a good idea of where I'm going now. So now what I need to do is come up with a final composition using my characters and my setting here. So I'm going to start off by penciling in my setting. Okay, the last thing I want to show you are the resources that I have available for you on this slides presentation. So the first thing you'll see after this video is a list of links that go to some other videos and websites. There's even a folder of just pictures of Tim Burton's work. So if you are interested in finding some more Tim Burton related inspiration, feel free to check out any of these things. I did also post all 3 of my examples. Then when it gets to the more specific parts about how to draw the characters and the settings, I have some visual examples for you to look at. I also thought this was really interesting about why Tim Burton tends to choose the shapes that he chooses for certain characters. When you get to drawing your spaces, this might be one of the more daunting tasks for some of you. I urge you to take a look. I uploaded a PDF file that I scanned from one of my absolute favorite drawing books. I know it seems really cheesy, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, but I actually had a professor in college who swore by this book, and it really is just the most basic guide to everything you need to know about drawing. But if you click on here, it will take you to that PDF file that I talked about. And if you would like to know more about how to create this sense of depth, this breaks it down very nicely for you. There are basically 3 different types of perspective, 1, 2, and 3-point perspective, and you use them in different situations. So this one gives you a good overview about interior spaces, exterior spaces, how to make things look 3D. Really, really helpful information. So I have this here for you if you are interested. And then I also shared just a couple other illustrations of Tim Burton's interior spaces. And then if you are interested in drawing an exterior space, I have again some more examples in that same link. A couple of notes about composition. Composition is where you just put the stuff on the page, and where you arrange your figures and the main stuff that's in your illustration can really make or break your whole illustration. So there is an article up here that you can click on. It takes you again to a PDF file where this illustrator explains some of the best tips for composing something. If you've taken Intro to Tech, you may have talked about the rule of thirds. That's a good, safe way to make a composition, putting the most important thing or the focus on one of these thirds or at the intersection of the thirds. But she also gives some good tips about framing, how to use lines to direct the attention. Sometimes you don't just want to have one thing for your viewer to look at. Sometimes you want to guide them around with lots of action. So that's there for you to look at. Don't forget that you get to use your artistic license with this. So do not feel any sort of pressure to make things look absolutely realistic. But I'm going to use Miss Braun's words that I think she took from Pixar. But she said, you have to make it look believable. So the best thing to do is to just remember really basic perspective concepts. Things that are closer to us appear lower on the page. So down here, this cube on the right, it is lower than the prism in the back. So it is closer to us because it's lower and the prism is farther away. You can really see that here with this 1-point perspective drawing where the trees are bigger that are closer to us, but notice how they start lower on the page and they get higher on the page and smaller as they get farther away. Those basic principles alone will really help to create a sense of space in your compositions. Be sure to look at these resources and use the internet with care to hopefully make something really successful. I'm excited to see what you make.